So most stories would be passed around by word of mouth. So the question here would be whether Muhammad could tell the difference between fact and fiction. And he simply couldn't. In Surah 18, Allah tells us that Alexander the Great traveled so far west, well, Dhu al-Qarnayn, if you interpret that as Alexander the Great, that he traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets. Now, not only can I guarantee you that Alexander the Great never found the place where the sun sets, we know that this was a popular story during Muhammad's lifetime. The story was even circulating in a Syriac work called The Glorious Deeds of Alexander towards the end of Muhammad's life. Earlier in Surah 18, we read about the companions of the cave, a group of people who supposedly went to sleep and then woke up 300 years later. This myth goes back to Bishop Stephen of Ephesus, and it's around the middle of the 5th century. According to Surah 19, Jesus began preaching as soon as he came out of Mary's womb. This story comes from the 6th century Arabic infancy gospel. The story of a bird teaching Cain how to bury his brother in Surah 5 comes from Mishnah Sanhedrin. The legend of Mary giving birth under a palm tree in Surah 19 comes from an apocryphal work called The History of the Nativity of Mary and the Savior's Infancy, written in the early 600s, so this is Muhammad's lifetime. The account of Jesus giving life to clay birds in Surah 5 comes from a 2nd century work called the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. It looks like Muhammad simply took every story that was popular during his life and gave it an Islamic twist and then included it in the Quran. What's interesting is that even the pagans, even the polytheists of Mecca were better at recognizing fiction than Muhammad was. We read in Surah 6, verse 25, "When they come to you to argue with you, the unbelievers say, 'These are nothing but fables of the men of old.'" So these are the pagans saying, "Muhammad, you don't really believe these stories, do you?"